So I'm Khoa and I will present my master thesis regarding the topic how to apply full cycle of user experience design to improve the user experience of the timesheet system in FPK. So this is the outline of my presentation. First, I will present my design questions. And second, I will introduce how I understand the current situation of the system and how to analyze those data, and then the solutions, and lastly, how I evaluate my design. So regarding the design question, at the beginning, the professor hinted me that there's some issue with, there's some challenges with the timesheet system in FPK because, for example, this is the screen of the manager when they have to review and approve a timesheet of an employee, and it takes quite a lot of time for the managers to review and decide if this timesheet is valid or not, or what's the problem with the timesheet. So it takes a lot of time for the managers. So my goal is to understand what are the challenges with the managers, and I have to design a solution to address those challenges. So then I start with the research question. So how can I support the managers in managing the progress of the task when they review a timesheet? Because when they review a timesheet, it will relate to the progress of the task. This will be an indicator to help them to decide if they should approve the timesheet or not. Then to solve this research question, I define other supporting questions. So because the managers is the main users of this research, so first I want to know what are the needs and the practices of the managers when they interact with the system. And second, do they use any tools to help them with the planning and reviewing the timesheet? And lastly, when I have my solution already, then how my solution address those challenges and to what extent. Next is the process that I conduct this research. So in this research, I follow the user-centered design process. So it involves the users in most of the phases. So first of all, I try to understand the current system of FBK, especially the timesheet. And to do that, I conduct informal interviews with the data officers. And for these interviews, I mainly focus on understanding the user flows of the managers and the staff. And secondly, I may ask about the potential challenges of the managers, because the data officers, they work with the system for quite a long time. So let's say they may have a sniff test about like what can be potential problems. And in the next phase, I try to understand the needs and practices of the managers. And to do that, I conduct the in-depth interviews with 11 managers to be exact, and then I transcribe the interviews and conduct thematic analysis on those transcripts. And after this phase, I know the main needs and practices of the managers. So those are the input from my next phase, which is the design. So based on the needs and practices, I try to define a solution that address those needs while it can utilize the existing data, and also utilize the design, the existing design elements. In the next phase, I evaluate my designs by conducting interviews with the managers. I ask them for their feedback. What do they like about the design, or what can we improve, and ask for their ratings about the usefulness. Let's say I will explain the more detail later phase. And lastly, I would refine and I would modify my design according to the feedback and do another round of evaluation. But in this time constraint of thesis, I only managed to create the second version of a design and do not have time to conduct the evaluation for the second design. So to understand the needs and practice of the managers, I conducted in-depth interview. Those are the semi-structured interviews with the open questions as shown on the screen. So I would like to understand their behaviors when they approve and review the timesheet. And in that process, do they have any problems? And if they have, how do they currently solve the problems? And besides, do they use any tools to assist them to review and planning in the whole process? Then after the thematic analysis, those are the main practices and needs that I indicate. The most significant practice is they have an assisting tool to help them with the planning and the reviewing. I say it is significant because it's related and support the needs that on the right of the screen. So I will explain how these tools support the needs later. And for the needs, the most significant one is they want to ensure the budget is all consumed when a project ends. Because all of them said that the main purpose of the timesheet is to report the hours. So they want that when a project ends, all the resource, all the budget should be reported. So there's no more left, there's no hours left, and there's the most effective way to use the budget and the fund, let's say. There are also other needs and practices that emerge when I do the evaluation. But as I showed on the previous screen, those are the main ones. So regarding the practice that a manager use a support tool, there are over 11 managers they use a tool to support, and there's one of them they develop let's say really complicated tools, and that manager she developed the tool based on the Google Sheet. So on that sheet, basically she simulates the time sheet of each staff before they actually filling in the real system. So before they submit to that timesheet to the real system, she can review the simulation, the simulated version beforehand, and that is and if that is correct, then the employees are free to submit. And besides that, also help when she review a timesheet in a later phase, if she can spot the difference between the simulated version and the submitted version, that's also an indicator that she should double check that timesheet again. And for this insight, those 3 managers who use the tools are the managers that have many members in their team. So that's why they need more complicated tools to assist them in the planning and previewing process. Yes, for example, this is a screenshot from a tool that the managers are using. This looks exactly the same, the real version of the timesheet, but it is the simulated version. So how this practice of having an assistant tool related to the needs of the managers, because at the end it serves the ultimate goal, which is to ensure all budget is consumed. Because with this tool, the managers can identify the SAE in invalid timesheet, or the or any project is behind the schedule. So it subsequently serves the purpose to ensure all the budget is consumed. And with this tool, it can help quickly identify the invalid timesheets. So for me, I use this. For me, these insights are the inspiration for me to come up with my design solution. So my approach is that my solution based mainly on two metrics, which are the completion rate and the time pass rate. So the completion rate, which is already exists in the system, is divided by the ratio between the recorded hours divided by the total number of hours. And secondly, I introduced another matrix. It's called the time pass rate, which is the ratio between how much time, how many days time has passed comparing with the total number of days in the budget. So by comparing these two metrics, it helps me indicate potential problems. So in our particular, based on two metrics, I can identify if a task is overspending, which means the recorded hours are more than the budget hours. And more importantly, I use it to identify if a task is underspending, which means when the time pass rate is quite a lot more than the completion rate, which means there quite a lot of time have passed, but the progress is quite lagging behind. And I can also identify the case when there are enough reported working hours, when the reported hours is less than the expected total hours. So based on those metrics, this is my first version of the design. So for the first feature, I call it the warnings at the approval screen. So this is the approval screen of the manager. So when the manager opens a timesheet of a staff, the let's say the risky task will be highlighted, and there will be also a warnings to notify what is the problem with this task. So the manager can do more investigation on this task. For this feature, it also appear in the view of an employee, so they can do the self-correction, and it will subsequently save the effort of the manager when they review the timesheet. Yes, so this feature satisfies the need that the manager can quickly identify invalid tasks.
Okay, you have 2 more minutes.
Oh, sorry. I will move quickly. So to evaluate the design, I conduct interview with the managers, 5 of them, and which each of the screen, with each of the feature I present, I ask a question: what do they like about the feature? What can be improved? And how do you rate in terms of usefulness? So in general, the first feature is favored by most of the managers because it's simple and quick. And the second and third features are useful, and the third feature are useful depends on the management style of the managers. So I would like to briefly say about the final version. So the feature 1 is basically the same. There are view from the staff also, and for the second feature, it provides an overview of budget spending. So the task, it can be either grouped into a person or a project. So it can tell if a person is doing well or a project is on track or not. And for the third feature, the manager can prioritize tasks before the month begins. So it reduces the risk that a staff can fill the wrong hours in the wrong task. And also, the tasks that belong to the same project are located nearby. So it's easy for the staff um, to recognize what are the tasks they have to fill in. So I also want to identify some limitations. The optimal value between the ratio of time passed and completion rate. It can be consult with the data office because they have the past data which indicates the successful projects. Besides, it should be explored more on the exception case and how to handle those. And lastly, it should be other iterations to approach nearer to closer to the needs and the practice of the managers. Let's see. So that's my presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have questions?
Yes, I do. So, first question is that in the limitations, you probably might not have listed that you only have 11 participants. That might be a limitations. Do you think that your target group was sufficient enough to draw strong conclusions?
Yes. Regarding the number of the participants, because in my full list of the managers, I received 14 of them, and I can manage to interview 11 of them because 2 of them reject, and 1 of them is not able to attend. So I think the reject.
I might understand, but do you think that this number 11 is enough to draw the conclusion that you're stating, or do you think that this is a limitation?
Yes, I think that's a good number to draw the conclusion because that's a major ratio of users.
Okay, thank you. And can I continue? So you stated that you had a thematic analysis.
Yes.
Was an inductive or a deductive thematic analysis?
Sorry, I don't remember exactly the terms, but what I do is I firstly define some main themes.
That is a deductive one.
Yes.
That's changing completely the report. So what were the themes then? Because you didn't list the themes. What were the themes that you used? I firstly define the main themes are the practices and the needs, and because I know that those are the ones that I would like to find out about the system. So those are the 2 main themes. And when I scan why you did interviews. It's okay to have a deductive approach, but in practice, the true story, even if, especially if you do an iterative approach, is a mixture of inductive and deductive. So, for instance, were some themes that you identified that were not among those that were predefined? Did you?
There are some, but I just focus on the needs and practices. Like for example, there are some people mention the errors.
Okay.
When they use a system, for example, there's a bit lacking when they input really fast, or there is when they save a note, then it is not saved.
I understood that.
So I define this as another field. So
you have any question?
Yeah, I have a very quick question. So I understand you didn't implement that, right? So it's just a proposal.
Yes.
So you didn't think about how to implement that, or
You mean
you did not like pilot implementation or anything?
Oh no, not yet. This is still the
design.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
You can go now.
Sì, finiti.
No.
I have lesson so we are time to run.
Yeah, I was into South of France, so I'll be quick.
Yeah, I will be quick. Very quick. Okay, thank you. Thank you.